Alright, here we have my new WABCO BA-10 crossing bell. This is an interesting pretty bell. In fact, I actually have two of these. This one, as you can see, is disassembled because I'm in theory in the process of trying to repair it, though I'm not entirely sure how likely that will be, unfortunately, because the issue with this, I fried the rotary solenoid. And yeah, just kind of gave away there. These things are solenoid driven, usually anyways. I think UP King, his WABCO bell has a motor in it sounds like. But just thought I'd show y'all. This here is the one that's pretty much mostly intact and works. And as you can see on the back here, you got the WABCO logo. One interesting thing that I find about the bodies of these is the fact, as you can see, the rain shields are actually cast onto the body, which is definitely a neat thing. And these two also have two different sounding gongs. Like here's this one. And here's this one. I don't know if one of these is older or newer. I think this one might actually be older a bit. Or if one of these had the gong replaced with like a different one at some point that was just painted to match. This one also has a dent. I don't know how well you can see it, but there is a dent on it. So I don't know if that's affecting the sound any, or if because this one has more rust on the inside of it, that's affecting the sound any. But as you can see up here, you got a spot for a lock on both of them. They've got cast on 5-inch bases. This one right here, actually, this one I can't really show you because the bottom part of that looks like it has something underneath the gong that this does not. Don't know why. Don't know if that's just simply like if that was a production change at some point. But here's just the inside. I'm gonna compare that door because I forget if there's any information cast onto it as well for this one. Give me a second. That's not open. There we go. Okay, yeah, the doors are pretty similar inside. As you can see, this one is pretty well stripped out because this would be like this way, and that would hold the capacitor. Right, here's the contact, as you can see. I just wonder if I should have had that out a bit more, but oh well. I have this one stripped down because, like I said, I mean, I gotta get a replacement solenoid for it because I fried the solenoid on that testing it because I'd known the resistor was bad and the capacitor was also probably bad. So I bought replacements for those, and then I had gotten this, and I was testing the solenoid just by directly applying power to it, and I think I actually fried it accidentally because I left it on for like several seconds at a time. Did it twice, and then when I turned it on the third time, I heard a zap and smoke came out of it, and that's never fun. Speaking of, here are actually some parts from this bell. Right here. Here is the LEDX6E, apparently that's the model, rotary solenoid. There's just kind of a close-up of some of the information on it. But yeah, this thing is fried. I don't know if it's repairable. That's 6E according to the maintenance thing for the, what's it called? Or at least the maintenance sheets for the WABCO BA-10 bell I found online. Which they do not make a 6E anymore, because I looked up. Johnson Electric currently owns it. I looked up on their website. They do not make LEDX6Es anymore. They do make a LEDX6S that looks like it would work for this, but I'd have to get a brand, but they have not gotten back to me on that, so yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. Right here's the two hammers. This is used on the inside, as I'll show you shortly, and this one right here is actually the Gong Hammer. And I will say, kind of taking this, it feels not exactly the strongest. So I think if I had to take a guess, I mean, I've heard that these hammers are rather weak, and so in fact the one on my bell actually has on my working bell actually has the previous owner, or maybe a railroad employee, had actually replaced this top part of the hammer here. So I think that these things are just I've heard that the hammers can easily break on these, so I think that's probably what happened with mine. I'll probably take about 5 seconds here to be quiet so I can try to show y'all, because I did get a picture earlier of what the hammer looks like, but it's basically just a little bolt held on with a couple of nuts so that way you can strike the gong. But yeah. And apologies for all the rambling, by the way, and hopefully I just remembered to show you all that picture. But yeah, that's what they should say. If I didn't show y'all, that's what it looks like. If I have not, just yell at me in the comments and I will give y'all a brand, and I'll show y'all the picture. I'll just post on Twitter and just pin a link in the pinned comments. Right here is the mount for the solenoid, by the way. Right here is a capacitor. This one's actually a new one. This is the same one that is used in the... Hang on, did I get the wrong size capacitor? I think I might have... No, 220... No, 2250 microfarads. That's the proper capacitor. I think this might actually need to be a... The maintenance thing I was looking at had a... said it was, I think, 390 microfarads. So maybe I'll try getting one of those and see if that actually works. But here is the resistor from the old, from the non-working WABCO. As you can see, that is absolutely busted. There is not a you can't get a current across that. But I will say this one rings rather fast because of the way it's wired up. Because normally you're supposed to have a, going down here, normally you're supposed to have a resistor going from here to here. And then I'm going to tighten that a bit real fast. And then power goes down here. This lead would be connected down here, and this lead would be connected over here, so that way power goes through this and goes up. But apparently, in fact, this also has two. I'm pretty sure it is a proper size resistor. No, not resistor, I mean capacitor. But this one, when I tried wiring it up properly using the new capacitor, because I'm not sure if this one's good or not, the resistor I put in fried. In fact, I have it right here. This is one of the resistors I'd used. I don't know how well you can see on this, but I'm going to put this right over here. If you notice, there is a bulge on the left-hand side there. That is a sign that that is fried. In fact, I want to say if I were to take like my meter to it, it would just show an open line. So yeah, I can't really wire this thing up properly because it'll just fry whatever resistor I put in, even though that's the proper 1.5 ohm resistor, because you can see if I take this here, it says 1.5 ohms on it, and same with looking in the maintenance manual, and these are 1.5 ohm resistors, or at least just about. There is a bit of tolerance on them. So I think this one's I think this one might have been technically like a 1.6 or something. But anyways, going back over to this bell, the working one. Here's the inside of the door. As you can see right here is the serial number. As you can see, it's 387933. As you can see, it says operates on 10 volts DC plus or minus 2.5 volts. And the BA-10 crossing bell. It is a these are very temperamental bells. This one actually does. It has a serial number. It's 088231. But yeah, these were made by WABCO under their Union Switch and Signal division back when they owned US&S. And American Standard was owning them too at the time. But this is the inside of the bell. As you can see right here is the contact. This, when the power comes on, this moves and it opens the contact, which then causes it to drop back down. And I think the capacitor there is supposed to help control the speed. I think this one has a bad capacitor, and I'm not entirely sure if I'll be able to get it out, to be honest. So, yeah. But this is the inside of the bell. Right, there's, of course, the solenoid, and there's that little hammer there. This hammer actually holds the two contacts together, but then when power's applied and it lifts up, as you can see, the two contacts open, and then when it goes back down, it does that. These are very interesting bells. I mean, the Safe Train Hybrid and the Westinghouse Hybrid, if I recall correctly, those also use solenoids, but they use a more typical lateral solenoid, which basically if like the solenoid's like this, say this is a solenoid, you'd have the armature, I think it's called, be going up out the top there essentially, or the bottom, depending on how the solenoid's oriented. Basically, it operates in the same way that basically it moves back and forth as power is applied and taken away. But this one, the solenoid, but of course the rotary solenoid, it turns rather than, it twists rather than moving back and forth. So I thought that's kind of neat. So essentially this is a solenoid bell just like the hybrids are, and it probably predates it because I'm guessing these were probably made like 60s, 70s, and into the early 80s, because it seems that shortly after WABCO spun off, US&S stopped making these, probably because, you know, they're pretty non-standard. Though the method of contact here is kind of like the same way with the teardrops, except kind of inverted, which is kind of neat. But yeah, so previous owner did have this wire cone now, but it actually crimped the tips of it there because it was a strand wire. I just kind of had it looped around, and I just felt it better to crimp it in, and so I did. But yeah, this is the. But yeah, I just thought I'd show y'all this. This is my new WABCO BA-10 crossing bell. Apologies for rambling there. These bells, I don't know if I'd mentioned or not. I'm pretty sure these two actually came from the Seaboard Coastline based on their paint scheme. This one I'm fairly certain it did because the seller was out of Florida, and I apologize to you. Haven't gotten this fixed yet. But this one I bought from a guy in Texas. Not sure if it's from the Seaboard Coastline because a few other rares did use these, but Seaboard Coastline is a big user of them. So, and there's still a lot across Georgia. There's a fair number in Florida, I think, and I'm aware of at least one in South Carolina and on the CSX Belton subdivision. Then there's, of course, the pair up there in Cary, North Carolina. Conrail might have trialed these a bit because there's a couple up in Pennsylvania on a former Conrail line. And then there's a little... And then, of course, over on the West Coast, you got like at least two in California, one of which I think is on like a UP, essentially a branch line out in the Bay Area, and then there's one somewhere further north, closer to Oregon, I think. I do know Oregon also has a bunch of WABCO bells in use, I believe, on the Portland and Western, or whatever it's called, at least some kind of like short line or regional out there. But yeah, this bell, it runs, and it is very fast when it runs as a result, as you'll see when I show it ringing. But at the same time, I'm glad that this thing does work, even if it is fast. Probably about as fast as the Lily Flag Safe-Tran bell is, so not too terribly fast, but it is a lot faster than most WABCOs are. But I do like faster bells, so. But yeah, this is, well, here are my two WABCO BA-10 crossing bells, and this one you'll probably be hearing later. If you want me to put on this gong and see how it sounds on that, just let me know in the comments, and I might see about doing it at some point in the future. But yeah, over and out.